I know what you're thinking, and yes, paper used to come attached to each other. That's how we made paper. We used to human centipede the shit out of the trees, and no one felt bad about it. Look, the world was a terrifying place during this particular period in history. It's Super R.C. Pro-Am for the Game Boy! So obviously the RC stands for real criminals. And if you had any doubts, or don't care about trees, well check this out, you goddamn treeist. Or maybe you don't care about racers either. Freaking racist. Murder and death are the name of the game in Super R.C. Pro-Am for the Game Boy. Actually, that's the name of the game, Super R.C. Pro-Am for the Game Boy. And it's a sequel to the NES game, R.C. Pro-Am. This is like that one, only super. And yes, you could have games called Super on systems other than the Super Nintendo. That was okay. Now, if they made R.C. Pro-Am 64 for the PlayStation, actually, no one would have cared about that either. I mean, look what they were doing to trees back then. So this game was released in 1991, still a few years before its developer would release its breakthrough hit in a little game called Donkey Kong Country. But that's the thing, even though Rare didn't really become a huge name until that game, they'd been putting out good games on Nintendo systems for years. Marble Madness, Cobra Triangle, Battletoads, and of course, Super R.C. Pro-Am. The game can be frustrating, as a lot of Rare's games tended to be, you Battletoads, but it's still an excellent little racer for the Game Boy. Who puts ramps in a tunnel? Oh, there's a ramp? What's going on here? Holy sh! What are you effing kidding me? So it's one of those old school kind of top-down isometric racers, which is awesome, but the whole gimmick here is the steering. I mean, everything else is pretty straightforward, but the game's most distinguishing feature is definitely the actual driving. See, racing in Super R.C. Pro-Am, it's kind of like racing on a slip and slide. A slip and slide covered in soap, too. Like one that you jump on and you just, boom, end up in the neighbor's yard. That kind of slip and slide. So there's definitely a learning curve to taking curves in this game. I like to take some heads after this shit. Hey, speaking of which, you can also kill your opponents in this game. There are weapons all over the place. Only problem is, there are apparently voodoo priests all over the place too, because your opponents resurrect themselves almost instantly. Blowing them up, yeah, that basically just gives you a chance to pass them real quick. That's it. Make one mistake and they're right back on your ass, back from the dead. Oh, and kind of pissed off about the whole blowing them up thing. So you have to deal with tricky drafting, voodoo priests, and some pretty ridiculous rubber banding. It's not quite Battletoads, but still, Super R.C. Pro-Am is not easy. But still, once you get used to the drifting and the taking of the turns and the battling of the zombie cars, it's hard not to have fun with this. It's a fun game. And it's really charming, too. I mean, the tracks are a little plain, but the cars look great. And the audio's a real highlight, too. Whether it's the sound of the cars or the screeching of the tires, all the little sound effects. It's just a really well-made game. Lots of polish and attention to detail, which you'd expect from Rare. Plus, it supports the Game Boy Link cable for up to 4 players, which is awesome. I guess if there's any problems, the challenge might be off-putting to some people. I mean, it's definitely bordering on cheap at times. And actually, since the screen's so small, you don't actually see the obstacles until they're, right in front of you. So you have a split second to avoid them, and that can also be very frustrating. To say nothing of the goddamn voodoo priests. So yeah, this will not be a game for everyone. But if you're patient, and you're good at drifting, and you have a Game Boy Link cable, and you have friends with their own copies, and you know what, actually that's a lot of things to have and be. That kind of limits it. Hey, let's try that again. If you have a pulse and a Game Boy and a spear with which to keep the witch doctors at bay, check out Super R.C. Pro-Am. The R.C. stands for remorseless cutting of the trees. Freaking treeist.